Hi everyone, welcome to today's service. The subject today is we're going to be talking about the prodigal son. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this, but we're going to start with a song and it's called Seek Only Thy Perfect Way. To be able to enter your city and be where the living God, where even the sparrows and nowhere is welcome to cast upon altars of love. The Lord of the heavens, my God and my King, teach me to live day by day. I want above all else to follow your footsteps and seek only thy perfect way. Happy are they who stay in your safety, seeking your presence each day. They want above all else to follow your footsteps and seek only thy perfect way. O Lord of the heavens, my God and my King, teach me to live day by day. I want above all else to follow your footsteps and seek only thy perfect way. I sing in the morning a song of thanksgiving for blessings promised to thee. Till someday ascending he calls to receive all those who in him believe. The Lord of the heavens, my God and my King, teach me to live day by day. I want above all else to follow your footsteps and seek only thy perfect way. Seek only thy perfect way. And one of the lessons in the prodigal son is that he started off leading a very bad life, but then eventually he became a better person, unlike his brother. So let's say the Lord's Prayer together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. So, as I mentioned, this is the story about the prodigal son. And this is Jesus speaking from Luke 15. Then Jesus said, there was a man who had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the share of the property that will belong to me. So he divided his property between them. A few days later, the younger son gathered all he had and traveled to a distant country, and there he squandered his property in dissolute living. So obviously not a good thing to do. When he'd spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed the pigs. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, 'How many of my father's hired hands have bread enough and to spare? But here I am dying of hunger. I'll get up and go to my father and will say to him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands.' So he set off and went to his father. But while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. Then the son said to him, 'Father, I've sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quickly bring out a robe, the best one, and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. And get the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.'" So clearly this young son had done a lot of bad stuff, hadn't he? But despite that, the father was so pleased to see him return. Do you think that was a wrong thing to do? The son had behaved very badly, so should he have been left to die because of his bad behavior? You can imagine what he probably looked like. He hadn't eaten, he probably had old ragged clothes, he would have looked really disheveled. Now we'll continue with the elder son. Now his elder son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. He called one of the servants and asked what was going on. He replied, "Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf, because he has got him back safe and sound." Then he, that's the older brother, became angry and refused to go in. His father came out and began to plead with him. But he answered his father, "Listen, for all these years I've been working like a slave for you, and I've never disobeyed your commands. Yet you have never given me even a young goat so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came back, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him." Then the father said to him, "Son, you're always with me, and all that is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice because this brother of yours was dead and has come to life. He was lost and has been found." So what do you think about the brother of the prodigal son? It's an interesting question, isn't it? Why exactly was he so upset? Well, clearly jealousy played a role here. So do you think he was right to behave that way about his brother? Should the bad son have been left to die? He had lived a bad life, hadn't he? But what's the message here? We have to forgive people when they're sorry for what they did and help them live a better life, right? Surely that's Jesus' teaching from his life on this earth. Do you think the other son jumped to the conclusion that he wasn't loved because his dad didn't celebrate him that way? And I remember from my time with having young sons, I have 4 sons, that I always told them that no matter what they did, I would always love them. If they did something wrong, I wouldn't rescue them from jail, but I would go visit them. And strange to relate, they never forgot that. Well, some of them did, anyway. So, in this story, it seems that the other brother, not the prodigal son, the other brother jumped to conclusions. He seemed to be mad that he wasn't spoiled the way the prodigal son was. But would it have been right for him to turn his brother away and let him die, which is what would have happened? Would it have been the same result if the bad son had not been sorry for what he did? Probably not. It always helps when people do the wrong thing and then are sorry for it. Isn't this the message, though? To forgive people when they're sorry for what they've done wrong. That's exactly what the divine does. Though the divine is never angry with us, no matter what we do. Right? No matter what we do, God always loves us. Now, this is from Matthew 20, which is a similar idea of one group of people being jealous of the other group. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. After agreeing with the laborers for the usual daily wage, he sent them into his vineyard. When he went out about 9 o'clock, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace and said to them, "You also go into the vineyard, and I'll pay you whatever is right." So they went. When he went out again about noon and about 3 o'clock, he did the same. And about 5 o'clock he went out and found others standing around, and he said to them, Why are you standing here idle all day?" They said to him, "Because no one has hired us." He said to them, "You also go into the vineyard." When evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his manager, "Call the laborers and give them their pay, beginning with the last and then going to the first." When those hired about 5 o'clock came, each of them received the usual daily wage. Now when the first came, they thought they'd receive more. But each of them also received the usual daily wage. And when they received it, they grumbled against the landowner, saying, "These last worked only 1 hour, and you've made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the day and the scorching heat." But he replied to one of them, "Friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for the usual daily wage? Take what belongs to you and go. I choose to give to this last the same as I give to you. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? Or are you envious because I'm generous? So the last will be first, and the first will be last." So on the face of it, that doesn't look fair, does it? For someone to get the same wage for an hour's work as someone who's worked about 10 hours. But clearly that's not the message, is it? I think all workers would be upset if those who work for 8 hours were paid the same as working 1. But this has a deeper meaning. Remember the prodigal son? He behaved atrociously early on, didn't he? But he was sorry to be such a rake and was ready to work in the field. In fact, he was ready to eat what the pigs ate. It was his dad who forgave his bad behavior and wanted to welcome him back. In this story, the workers were willing to work, but no one had hired them. Right? These are the ones that only work for an hour. It does seem odd that the landowner paid them all the same amount, but I think the answer is that when we lived bad lives, that would be like the idle workers, and are sorry for the evil we did, that we're able to be in heaven. This is the message. The message is, no matter when you're sorry for the bad things you've done, you will become an angel in heaven because you have changed your heart. In fact, the term metanoia means change your mind, which is another way to talk about reformation. This is yet another story. I love this story because it's showing how Jesus cared for everyone. This is from John 8. And everyone went to their own house, while Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. Early in the morning he came again to the temple. All the people came to him, and he sat down and began to teach them. The scribes and Pharisees brought a woman who'd been caught in adultery, and making her stand before all of them, they said to him, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the very act of committing adultery. Now in the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. Now what do you say?" They said this to test him, so that they might have some charge to bring against him. Jesus bent down and wrote with his finger on the ground. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, "Let anyone among you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." And once again he bent down and wrote on the ground. When they heard it, they went away, one by one, beginning with the elders. And Jesus was left alone with the woman standing before him. Jesus straightened up and said to her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" She said, "No one, sir." And Jesus said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go your way, and from now on, do not sin again." So what do you think the scribes expected Jesus to do? Would they think that he would condemn her and allow them to stone her? And my question, of course, is, by the way, where was the man in all this? It takes two to commit adultery. Jesus knew what they wanted, of course, and caught them out via their own sins. Even they were able to say, yes. No, Jesus didn't tell her it was okay to be an adulterer, did he? So he didn't excuse the act, just the person who did the bad act. As we go through our lives, we make mistakes. I think we make most of our mistakes the younger we are, which usually is because very often as we get to be young adults, we think we know everything. But of course we don't. And the answer is we have a lifetime to figure out what we're meant to do. And the answer is we're meant to become good people. We're meant to help others. We're meant to be kind. We're meant to be compassionate. And some of us have short lives on earth and some have long lives. But we all have the same opportunity to become angelic human beings, fit for the other world. So, may God bless you all. May God comfort you in your sad times. May you feel the divine presence with you in your good times. I pray for you all that you will be well and happy as best you can. May God be with you all. Amen.